You listen to me, buddy. iPads are computers now. Deal with it. They've got full mouse and trackpad support, desktop web browsing, and the Pro models have a powerful processor that can outperform many real laptops. The debate about whether an iPad can replace your laptop is over. But that doesn't mean we're done asking questions. For instance, take this new iPad Pro. Why did I just call it an iPad Pro instead of what it actually is, which is the new 2020 iPad Air? Why does it have a better CPU, but a lower price? Can it replace your laptop? I'm sorry, old habits die hard.
Now IT can manage PCs from anywhere. Leverage your existing cloud storage to deploy Windows, apps, BIOS updates, and more. You can set up and deploy in an afternoon. Get your exclusive free software worth over $800 at smartdeploy.com/Linus.
Okay, I figured it out. I called it the new iPad Pro because this new iPad Air looks almost exactly like our 11-inch iPad Pro from 2018. There's the square edge design, single rear-facing camera, top and bottom speaker grills, and equal bezels on all sides. It even fits perfectly into the same keyboard accessories meant for the Pro, including the Magic Keyboard, the Keyboard Folio, and my personal favorite, this Logitech Folio Touch. I mean, the only obvious visual differences are the slightly wider bezels and thicker chassis on the Air, but otherwise, if you hadn't heard the news, you'd be forgiven for thinking this was a iPad Pro 10.9 inch. So what's Apple's game here? Is the iPad Air supposed to be the iPad Pro Lite? Or maybe this square edge design represents the future of the entire iPad line, and the iPad Air is just getting it first, sort of like a hand-me-down from an older sibling, the thicker bezels, the tablet parallel of frayed edges on a once fashionable sweater. Thank you. The new iPad Air is $200 cheaper than the Pro, but at what cost? Well, the top and bottom have what appear to be 4 speaker grills, but Apple says the Air has stereo speakers. And sure enough, sound only seems to come from 2 of them. The audio is still pretty decent for a tablet though. On the back is a single 12 megapixel camera, no ultra wide or LiDAR sensor here. And on the front, a lonesome 7 megapixel camera hides in the bezel with no true depth cameras for Face ID. Instead, Apple has brought back Touch ID, integrating it into the power button. It's a little more of a hassle than just looking at your iPad and swiping up, but what do you think this is? An iPad Pro? The Air's display has a slightly lower resolution thanks to those thick bezels, and it also lacks ProMotion, which is Apple's fancy marketing term for 120 Hertz. You're stuck at a pathetic 60 here. But that's not for lack of power. Inside is the new A14 Bionic processor, the same 6-core chip found in the new iPhone 12 models. In our Geekbench tests, the A14's single core and GPU performance was actually significantly better than the A12Z found in the current iPad Pros, although it did fall behind a bit in multi-core due to the A14 having 2 fewer cores. The iPad Air also has less memory, 4 gigs instead of 6 gigs in the Pros, and the base model only comes with 64 gigs of storage. Anyone who does get one of these to use as an actual laptop will probably want the 256 gig version for an extra $150. And then you gotta add a keyboard and maybe an Apple Pencil if you're creative, and all of a sudden your shopping cart is at almost $1,200. In this economy? This thing better be freaking amazing to use. And, well, it's good. I mean, it feels like using the iPad Pro, and this time around iPadOS 14 has some cool new pencil features like Scribble, which lets you write and edit in any text field, a la Windows 10 from 2018. There's also just some more basic desktop OS stuff, like the ability to set third-party apps as the default email client or web browser, which is especially nice now that the iPad versions of Firefox and Chrome, as well as Safari, can load the desktop versions of websites by default instead of the dinky little mobile version. But while I've learned to love using the iPad as a laptop, almost as much as I love LTTstore.com, if you're going to use an iPad as your main machine, be aware that iPadOS is still very much a work in progress. While they've promised full functionality is coming, Adobe apps are still not quite at a desktop class level. There are, however, great alternatives like Procreate, Affinity Illustrator, and LumaFusion. Microsoft's native mouse support for Office on iPad is apparently coming, but it hasn't rolled out to our machine yet, so the mouse still acts like a transparent finger instead of a proper cursor. And while the iPad Air's USB-C port means it can easily connect to external monitors and thus compensate for its tiny, tiny screen, iPadOS has yet to add the ability to extend its display instead of just duplicating it. So if you've been following our iPad Pro coverage up till now, you might be thinking, this is more or less the same story as last time. It can be, is, a laptop, but only for a specific type of person. The type of user who loves iPads and wants to make iPadOS work for them and has some money to blow. But while the overall story might be the same, this is still an important moment to me because this is the first iPad video we've made in the last couple years that isn't about challenging this thing's existence as a laptop replacement. iPads officially are laptops now and not just iPad Pros. Maybe next year, we might actually recommend that you get one. But what I can recommend you check out is our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped hooked us up with their new Performance Package Kit, which comes with a ton of stuff, including their new lawnmower waterproof trimmer with advanced skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks and cuts, their crop preserver, their ball deodorant, and the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, which is great for keeping your nose hair nice and tidy. And for good measure, there's also the new Shears 2.0 luxury nail kit. So head to manscaped.com/tech today and get 20% off plus free international shipping, and you'll get their Shed travel bag and a pair of their anti-chafing boxer briefs available for a limited time. So check it out. All right, thanks for watching this video, guys. Hey, if you're looking for something else to watch, go watch the mean comments video. That's entertaining. Or my apartment upgrade. Hashtag minimalism. It's fun.